Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Aslip Committee meeting. Today is Monday, November 25th, 2024, and we'll call this meeting in order at 7:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you take the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez-Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin? Here. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas-Garza? Here. Trustee Peretta is absent. Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, thank you for joining us tonight. This is a committee meeting, so please keep in mind we're not voting on anything this evening. This is basically, the voting will take next week in a board setting. So tonight this is discussion with different topics that may be considered for a vote next week. First on your agenda this evening, I have on here a request to further amend ordinance number 2019-12-3, Cannabis Dispensing Organizations, section 105, and by deleting number 4, what it says there is a cannabis dispensing organization shall be located in a freestanding building that is not occupied or shared by any other business or tenant or used for any other purpose other than the cannabis dispensing organization. The reason I had this on tonight's agenda was a few weeks ago the village board agreed to amend another part of this ordinance that said that, I've got it on here, that said that a cannabis dispensing organization, we used to have it zoned where it had to be zoned in an industrial setting. Now we've agreed to introduce this into the business district. Because it's now in a business district, my office is getting quite a few calls from interested landlords, building property owners, asking if it would be possible to reconfigure leases to allow a cannabis dispensing organization to lease from them. And again, as our current ordinance says, it's supposed to be a freestanding building. So really the question is we're not putting this to a vote this evening, was just to get the thoughts from the board, from the trustees, and whether or not they were interested in bringing this to a vote, like in a board setting, because again, it helps us get clarity in my office how to respond to these property owners within the village. Currently, just for the record, the Village of Aslip does not have any cannabis dispensing organizations that are represented here. We're hoping to possibly induce some of that to help us offset expenses here too by finding more unconventional revenues. Obviously, many of the surrounding towns around us all have dispensing organizations that have businesses, I should say, that have come to be, and I actually gave the board pictures just to kind of give them an idea of what the shared look in other communities looks like. Over on Blue Island, it's a single building, but it's immediately adjacent to another. In Crestwood, they just had a place open up. That's on 127th and Western. Crestwood just had a place open at 133rd and Cicero. That's in a strip mall and directly associated with like Verizon phone stores and whatnot. Over in Posen, there's one on Veterans Drive. That's again part of like a mini, call it a mini strip mall. Yeah, there's about maybe 3 businesses there together there. Over in Markham, there's one at like 159th and like Albany, and again, it's on the corner, but mixed in with a lot of stores as part of a strip mall. In Justice, the same thing. They're at 83rd and Roberts Road, and that's part of a mini strip mall. There's probably 3 businesses in one building. And in Calumet City, it's kind of a cube, but there's maybe 3 businesses in that cube over on Torrance Avenue. So that's the reason I was asking the board if they were interested in changing the current ordinance to allow for this. Your thoughts?
Just an immediate thought that I have is, or a couple of thoughts. So just to frame it, is one, the difference between some of these communities and ours, we do have a strong industrial base, and retail is important, for economic development, but our core, I guess, economic engine is the industrial community. Second is, my concern is that it'll trickle down or expand or be something similar to like video gaming, where it's just kind of going to be everywhere. Since we do have a number of strip malls on some of our main corridors. And three is, I think, recommendations from our police department. What is, the recommended, is it freestanding, or is, just with your expertise and so forth like that, what would you suggest?
I know that the ordinance was originally created to be freestanding, and I think that was common when this law was first introduced. There was a lot of paranoia, and it was just a foreign concept at the time, and it's become more normal now in our society. We have no objections from a police department standpoint as far as whether or not it's in a strip mall or a standalone. As far as our aspect or our viewpoint of it, it's nothing different than a jewelry store or a liquor store, liquor stores are commonly in strip malls. So we don't have any issues as far as that's concerned.
Thank you.
Other than parking.
And honestly, that's the one thing I was going to mention, and where I think we need to potentially enhance our rules, because the ordinance as it currently stands is extremely vague in terms of parking. And we have multiple strip malls in town that don't have adequate parking as it is. And so if we were to just open this up and say, yeah, they're allowed in strip malls, well, I would say I can come up with at least 3 or 4 where I would be an absolute hard no, it absolutely cannot go there because they don't have adequate parking as it is. And then you throw in a business that potentially can operate from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., it's going to overflow with the normal operations of what's already in that strip mall. And since we don't have defined parking spaces related to this, there's nothing for the Planning Commission to even go off of to do a parking evaluation if something went before them. So I think we have to incorporate some kind of logic associated with parking before we would consider going into a strip mall.
Well, I think the parking rule is always going to stand. I know what you're saying. It's kind of hard to gauge, but we'd have to go back and look at whether it's square footage in this case. For the most part, whenever we look at parking, it's usually restaurants or something like that, where you can go by seating and that kind of thing. But this might be a square footage scenario. But even in a standalone building, we still have to qualify the parking for it and stuff then too.
But the building already exists. So the vast majority of what we're talking about is already developed. It's not something where somebody's building a strip mall with this in mind. These are already existing structures that have set parking for it. And the nature of that business, out by my boat, I see all these buildings out there, and they don't have enough parking for the standalone facility. People wrapped around out in lines all the time. So I think it'd be terrible to put it into an existing structure. Standalone, at least that one has its own parking, and if there's a complaint, it's their parking. But you're going to have people who are either have a restaurant or a business or whatever else, and they've got no place for their people because this business moved in and took the highway. It's not a good idea.
Okay. Trustee Murphy?
I got to go with Trustee Dazell. I mean, I've seen, in the same area, with the parking problem and in another state, and literally people are wrapped around the building. Not my forte. It's not something I would ever get into, but there's a market for it, and building a standalone, I don't think would be a bad thing for the community. And also, we have plenty of vacant lots in order to do so.
That's fine. Like I said, I had asked the question to the board. This isn't my decision. I manage operations here as the mayor, but these are certainly board decisions, and it doesn't sound like we want to amend this at this time. I appreciate the board's help a few weeks ago by amending the ordinance to introduce it to the business district, because I do think we might get, I know we've got some, we had an interested party who kind of ran, spearheaded that effort and stuff, and I hope he's doing well locating the property that he wants to locate and so forth. From where we sit, and the board was very understanding of it, Trustee Murphy, you were probably the most vocal on it too, but so the public, we got students in the room tonight, is we're looking at a lot of tax issues coming up. All communities are, all villages are. I mean, it's coming next year. The state is going to is no longer going to give us our grocery tax money anymore. So all communities are going to lose 1% that was a pass-through from the state that comes to your communities where you have grocery stores. So the village next year is going to lose $700,000 from a grocery tax. Now, of course, the state is saying, well, you can re-implement that tax, and I don't want to do that. I want to find ways to offset that cost on something else. I mean, I went home for dinner at night real quick, and much like yourselves, I'm sure, I opened up an escrow bill for my new property tax, and my house payment just went up $310 a month. So, I mean, we're all going to feel this pain, but I totally respect what everybody just said, so I'm not taking issue with any of that. I just want to let the public know that we're doing everything we can to try and find a solution to some of these costs and stuff. And again, that my new word is unconventional revenue all the time. Let's find something that doesn't put any onus on you, the taxpayer. Because we are all taxpayers before we're representatives here, and we're doing what we can. So unless I hear a yes, unless you want the attorney to do it, we'll let it go. You want to do that, we'll stay with the way the ordinance is.
I mean, we've amended it, and I understand things don't turn on overnight, but we haven't even put our toes into the water yet to find out what things are.
Agreed.
And I think that we owe something to our business community who's already here invested in Aslip, and not to allow something like this come in and squeeze them. I think we got to protect them as well.
That's fine.
I agree.
That's fine, and that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. It's just that, again, it's not proper for my office to sit on this information I share with you folks and stuff then too. So we'll leave the ordinance as it stands. That's that. All right, thank you. Next, we'll go to the clerk's report. Clerk Harding.
Thank you, Mayor. Of the presentation of the October 2024 IDOT motor fuel tax allotment in the amount of $73,184.02, and the presentation of the November 18th, 2024 board meeting minutes. And that is all I had, Mayor.
All right, thank you. We don't need an attorney this evening. Engineer's report. Mike, did you have something from the engineer?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Public forum. Did anybody in the audience wish to address the board tonight? Anybody? Okay. Nobody? We'll go to our standing committee reports, starting with Finance and IT. Trustee McGlowan.
Thank you, Mayor. I will have the usual list of payroll and accounts payable for approval next week, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Fire Committee, Trustee Murphy.
Nothing for tonight, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Police and Traffic Safety, Trustee Dalzell.
Nothing for the agenda. Anything, Chief?
Yes, a couple updates real quick. I just wanted to keep the board updated on a couple of things. Deputy Chief Sean Schultz is retiring after 24 years of service in about 2 weeks. Sergeant Hector Puente will be graduating from Northwestern School of Staff and Command in about 2 weeks. And the department received a letter from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children this week. We completed some training and have become one of the very few departments in the state of Illinois to be certified by the National Center. So if I could just take a minute to read this real quick. From the moment the report of a missing child comes in to the resolution of the case, every action taken has the potential to make the difference between a successful recovery or a tragic outcome. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NECMEC, develop the Missing Kids Readiness Program to promote best practices for responding to calls for missing, abducted, and sexually exploited children. Law enforcement agencies and 911 call centers are recognized for meeting essential training and policy elements demonstrating preparedness for responding to a missing child incident. To meet the requirements of the program, the Aslip Police Department worked with NCMEC on their missing child policy to ensure it met the critical elements of NCMEC's model policy for law enforcement agencies. In addition, officers, supervisors, and command staff completed the online training required for their memberships. By demonstrating remarkable leadership and making this commitment of training and preparedness, the Aslip Police Department is communicating to its citizens and families protecting the lives and safety of their children is a top priority. Armed with this information, knowledge, and operational resources gained through meeting the program criteria, the Aslip Police Department is positioned to respond more quickly, comprehensively, and effectively when a child's life may be at stake. We at the National Center would like to express our sincere gratitude and congratulations to the Aslip Police Department for achieving this milestone and for their diligence and commitment to children. Thank you.
Well done. Congratulations, Chief.
Congratulations, Chief. Mhm.
That's all.
No. Well, give me 1 second, just making a quick note here. No, well done. Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
Nothing for this evening, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Sewer and Water, Trustee Nava-Esparza.
No report, thank you.
Okay. Building and Health Committee.
Trustee Dalzell or McLaughlin.
No report this evening.
Okay. Human Resource and Insurance, Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a request to approve the Blue Cross Blue Shield Employee Retiree Health and Dental Insurance with Alliant Mesereau effective January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. There is a copy of that in the packet. That's all I have, sir.
So, for the record, too, it was my language when I wrote Alliant Mesereau. It is no longer Mesereau, it's just
Now,
Alliant.
Mesereau.
It's just Alliant now.
Oh, excuse me, Alliant.
Yeah, I was incorrect on that. So, again, just so everybody knows, last week, myself and HR, the Human Resource Manager, Tony Fasano, met with the with our unions as well, because in our contracts, we do have a provision that has them meet with us annually prior to an insurance renewal. The insurance renewal this year is going up 8.8%. Actually, we're going from a projected $3.8 million to like $4.2 million a year. The village is going to have to assume almost a $291,000 increase, and I do want to incorporate a reserve for any overages. The village is self-insured, so we pay our own claims as we go and so forth, and we have to be careful about how those go. I did ask the union if they would concede, or adjust any of the premium, and they did not, nor did they want to adjust the deductibles. They did ask, and that's why I have to ask this evening, because this is going to be approved at next week's meeting. They did ask if the board would consider changing the spend on dental from $1,000 a year to $2,000 a year. We don't have to answer that tonight. We can modify that on its face next week when we've got more trustees in the room. Actually, we're going to be short one next week, being me. I have another commitment next week, so I'm not going to be here. So we're probably still going to have this many people here. I'll provide everybody makes it to next week's meeting. So maybe I can give them some direction, if the board wants to at least give me consensus this evening. I put all this into the packet. Do you want me to have them amend this particular aspect of the insurance to include that when you go to approve it next week?
Well, was it requested by all three unions?
Yes.
Okay. And what percentage of that additional coverage are they willing to take on, or they want to keep it at the same 85-15?
It's still 85-15.
So it's 80, it'll stay 85-15, and then we make it the same deductible.
Increase.
Yeah, but in dental, and on the dental side, it's actually, when it comes to a dental spend, instead of having instead of it's a deductible, it's a shared cost. So for every, let's just say if a participant spends $500, you spend $500. Up to, right now, it's up to $1,000. If the participant spends $1,000, you spend $1,000. Last year, we had almost $133,000 in claims in dental last year. So you would potentially, it's being estimated less than that, it's being projected less than that, but I don't know that it will be, depending on how many people use the $2,000 spend.
So they spend 2,000, we would spend 2,000.
Exactly.
As opposed to 1,000 and 1,000.
Right.
Yet 85-15 still stays the same.
Yes.
Why would we do that?
That's just the question, It's you obviously assume more liability, is what you do, because you're doubling your liability. What I can do next week, because we are in a committee setting tonight, next week I'll have it as a approval of the healthcare insurance, and then a second approval whether or not the board wants to approve the $2,000 spend. That'll be the question.
I mean, it just on its face, it's a hard sell. I mean, in just why would we just give it away at this point in time if there's no, say, offsetting concessions coming from the union in any form? To me, that a change of this magnitude is something that should be bargained, as opposed to just randomly requested, and again, with no potential discussion for offset or
So-
compensation.
Understood. So that's what I'll do. I'll put that on next week, whether or not the board wants to increase that spend. Any other questions? Anything I can, and if you want any questions during the week, please send them to me. We only got a couple of days left in this week, but if you have anything tomorrow or the next day, please let me know. Next, we had the special committee reports. We'll start with economic development. Trustee Nava-Esparza.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no items this evening.
Okay, thank you. Village properties, Trustee McGlohorn.
Report this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance and Legislation Committee.
Trustee Dalzell or Nava Esparza.
No report.
Okay. Planning and Zoning and Licenses Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a presentation of a list of licenses dated November 11th through November 22nd of 2024, and that's all I have.
Mike, boat launch all tightened up? Nothing going on out there now? No?
All quiet.
All right.
No bass tournaments?
Mike, are we all done now with sidewalks and everything else? Are we all tied up now? Okay, how about the street resurfacing? We're all done with those too? Complete? Okay. Anything left on those? I know I'm seeing a couple of bills rolling through, but rehab, or remediation, I should say, is everything going good with that?
The restoration
Yeah.
still taking place right now for the road resurfacing program. Otherwise, everything else is complete.
Okay. What you call it? The Veterans Plaza looks real nice. I saw the Christmas tree went up last week.
Yes.
And who did the other stuff? Put up. Did your guys do that? The
Did
decorations?
decorations at Pulaski, yeah.
Street looks great.
That looks really nice. Hey, you guys did a good job.
We're waiting for some new banners to come in. Once those come in, those will go up as well.
Okay. All right. We can talk more tomorrow. Anything you need from our office? Or everything good? Okay.
Everything's good.
All right. Did anybody have any presentations, petitions, or communications they wanted to share? I wanted to share a couple of quick ones. First, I want to thank Becky Smith, my assistant, for leading the charge today. And I want to thank all the departments. Everybody had personnel help out decorating the Village Hall today. They got a little bit left to go tomorrow. And certainly they did a nice job decorating the boardroom here, as they always do for the holidays. Please keep in mind, next week, December 2nd, we're going to have the tree lighting ceremony here at 6 p.m. And we always have the Girl Scouts come out to sing Christmas carols, and we'll have Santa Claus here. We always have hot chocolate, and I know the Doubletree Hotel makes the best chocolate chip cookies, and they're going to be out here as well, too. So that's next week. Unfortunately, I have another commitment next week. I can't be here, so you're going to need a mayor pro tem. So you folks can, usually it's a senior trustee to sit in to do that. And the big thing on the agenda is obviously going to be approving one of our biggest expenditures, which is the health care insurance will be on for next week. Did anybody have any unfinished business they wanted to talk about? Any new business?
Mayor, what was the dollar amount for the health insurance increase?
I got it right here.
Yeah, I just had it here. Health insurance is going, the village portion of the health insurance is going up $291,635.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. If there's no other new business, then can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Time now is 7:59 p.m. Students, if you need us to sign your agenda sheet, man, I'm just at a loss here tonight. Agenda, come on up. Any of us can sign that for you and stuff, too. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.